So the new patch 7.33 has been out for like 2 days now, and I just wanted to let you know that perma-grave is actually a thing now. So you grave your ulti immediately, and then you actually have to hold your second grave a little bit, because if you don't hold your second grave, you can't do your next grave and so on. So you have to... So like there's like 4 graves in a row, right? So you have to hold your second grave a little bit, because otherwise your bad juju is not gonna be there in time. So if you get some more cooldown reduction, is gonna be a little bit easier, but if you get the timing right, you can perma-grave people for like I don't know, 3 or 4 times, but that should be plenty, right, in a team fight. But at the same time, you also lose some health yourself. But if you have some more items, I think you should be able to ulti yourself like 4 or 6 times, so that should be plenty enough to perma-grave an ally. The second thing I realized about Dazzle right now is that you can actually ulti to get rid of this cooldown thing. So if you time it right, you can actually just get away from someone. Just like you literally just remove the blink dagger penalty. It was not like this before. So I think they're gonna fix that at some point. I kind of assume this is not intended, but you can get out of some dodgy situation. And if you actually upgrade your blink into an arcane blink, you can do some pretty crazy things, because you can blink twice, because you just blink and then remove the cooldown completely with bad juju and then blink again. And then from this point on, you have to wait for your bad juju to come back up. So this means that the blink has literally 2.5, let's say, seconds, because you also have to cast your ulti. But let's say your blink has pretty much 2.5 seconds when you're jumping around the map. So as long as you have HP, this is actually kinda cool. So you can do this, blink twice immediately, and then it's pretty much like 2.5 second cooldown on blink. And you know, you can do this like 4 or 5 or 6 times before the HP gets too much for you. So I can do something like this. So you get the point. I can blink in and out all the time and just keep graving. Obviously you're gonna run out of HP at some point. At this point I only have these 2 items, I only have 2k HP, so I'm gonna run out pretty quickly. But the idea is you can blink in and out of combat like all of the time and just keep perma-graving someone. It is actually kind of disgusting. So let's look at some item builds. For support Dazzle, I would start getting like Arcane Boots and then Holy Locket into the Guardian Greaves and the Glimmer Cape and then Aether Lens. The thing about Glimmer Cape that's really cool right now is that it got buffed, so now people also get some movement speed once you glimmer them. But it's actually not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that sentries are so hard to come by right now, so it's actually a big deal having invis in your teams. I'm sure you've seen a lot of bounty hunters and rickies and stuff, and they're really hard to deal with because it's so difficult to actually carry detection at this point. The second thing that's cool about Glimmer Cape is that you can actually like perma-Glimmer Cape people now. So if you don't have Octarine Core, you kinda have to do this like twice, and then you have 2 Glimmer Capes. 2 Glimmer Capes is enough. It's kinda hard to keep this going without the Octarine Core. But 2 Glimmer Capes should be more than plenty, right? But with the Octarine Core, you can actually Glimmer Cape people forever, and it's extra good with the Octarine Core because then you only have to ulti once to actually have enough refresh cooldown for this. So you could just do this, just ulti once. And people's gonna be perma-glimmered. It's kinda cool. So I think Glimmer Cape is really strong right now, so if you combine it with the build where you just get Guardian Greaves and Holy Locket, you can keep people alive a lot right now. So I think these 4 items are really good on Dazzle right now, and then obviously you also want your shard, and from here you can actually do some shenanigans. Not only can you be like defensive and helping people, you can also go aggressive. Because there's very little cooldown on Glimmer Cape and your Poison Touch if you just keep using your ulti. So you can actually do a lot of offensive things as well, if that makes sense. And it gets even better, obviously, if you just go for the Octarine Core. Like, this is actually gonna be truly disgusting. This gives this Sven some HP, and look at the amount of damage I can actually do. And if you want to be even more aggressive, you can actually go for Aghanim Scepter. I think people in this patch are like having this misunderstanding that Aghanim Scepter is only good if you're like going for Desolator, Witchblade or something. But the thing is, Aghanim Scepter by itself is actually kinda legit. You'll reduce a lot of armor. And the thing is, when you combine it with this Aether Lens build, like look at how far away I can actually Shadow Wave someone, which is also proccing an attack on them. And look what happens if I actually right click to actually attack him. It's so much closer. This is not happening. This is how you die. And over here, this is how you stay safe. You know what I mean? So with the Aether Lens and the Aghanim, you can actually do some pretty sick shenanigans. You can like keep doing this And of course you have the glimmer cape, so you can just keep glimmering yourself and stuff. So you get the point. That's actually, like, right now, what has he done? Modified by 15, so now he got 15 less armor. It's actually a lot. And if we do include the Octarine core as well, you can actually pump out damage, because you can just keep you can see, like from a long distance I can actually do a lot of damage, right? So I'm modified him to 15, you can modify him to 18 sometimes. Right now he's got 4 poison touch on him. And I'm almost killing a guy with 3 hearts just from like clicking him with spells from this far away. So there's a lot of aggressive potential here. You can modify him by 15 or 18 or sometimes even 21 armor if you're really good. So it's actually a lot of damage, a lot of offensive capabilities. So are you gonna get both of these items on support Dazzle? It's a little unrealistic, but I think it's kind of fair that you get one, so you can get either the Octarine core if you want to do the perma-grave thing. That's all you need. If you want to be even more YOLO with the perma-grave thing, you could also go for Blink, but it's a little bit unrealistic on support Dazzle. Other than that, you can go for Lotus Orb to just, because the Glimmer is so strong right now. So if they're gonna dust this Glimmer, because Sentries is really hard to come by, then you could just Lotus to remove the dust. You can also just go for, let's say, just Aeon Disc, just to protect yourself while you're healing people from behind. These 4 items and your shard is absolutely key right now in support Dazzle, and from here you can do a lot of different things. You could also do something like this on an offlane Dazzle, because then you can either go for Meteor Hammer or Midas. I think Meteor Hammer is a little better, because Midas tends to be better with the Boots of Travels, which I'll show you later. But Meteor Hammer with Glimmer Cape is actually a lot of fun, because you can glimmer while you're Meteor Hammering. You don't even need the other lens to be out of tower range. With the other lens you can do it from even further away, obviously. But I don't know, it feels like it can be kinda cool to just be this split pushing little animal. And the thing is, Meteor Hammer is also really good for actually clearing creep camps, and a lot of creep camps right now, so it makes a lot of sense. And also what's cool about Meteor Hammer is that it got 8 to all tributes, so just for the laning stage it's actually kinda nice damage just for Dazzle, just for this reason alone. But the biggest thing, of course, is the bad juju. You can actually Meteor Hammer something, and then immediately you can just bad juju. And with a couple of bad jujus, like let's say it's 2 or 3 of these, then your Meteor Hammer is up again. So imagine a tower, you can take down a tower pretty fast on your own, or you can just run around from creep camp to creep camp and just farm up like crazy. So this is like your farming item for an offlane Dazzle, either the Meteor Hammer or the Hand of Midas. And from here it's kind of the same thing, right? You're committed to these 4 items, so you're kind of like a support Dazzle, but just a lot more farm because you went for the offlane approach. But now let's look at a core Dazzle who's truly gonna be a carry. So kind of what you need is Bottle for this build, so it makes most sense to do it in the mid lane, but you could actually also do it in the off lane, because there are also some runes here that can refill your bottle now. But let's say for the sake of argument you go mid, so you probably buy a bunch of stats. I would say 4 or 5 Ironwood branches. Then you go in for your bottle, then you go in for your magic wand, then you go in for your boots, and from here you have like 2 options. Either you go for the Midas straight away if you feel like you can get away with it. If your team is not getting Omega ganked by the other guy, then Midas makes a lot of sense to do first. Otherwise, you can actually do Boots of Travels first to get active on the map, because it's a very heavy ganking meta right now. And then afterwards you can go back for the Midas. But here's why Midas is really cool right now. So you Midas something, and let's say you're low on resources, you're gonna notice I don't really have a lot of like a regen with this build. I don't have a Perseverance, I don't have a Guardian Greaves or anything, but it doesn't really matter much, because I can just stay in base and I can just like do this a couple of times, and this is gonna refresh my Midas by a fair bit, and now I can actually already travel out again. So it takes me like, let's say 10 seconds or something, maybe 15 seconds at the most, to just go to base, refill completely, reduce my Midas cooldown with like 30 seconds or something, and then I go back into the battle. I think this is very legit. This actually, it's kind of cool. Whenever you have downtime, you just go to the base, you just refresh your Midas a couple of times. If you're in the field, if you don't want to go to base right now, you can just use your ulti and have like 4 stacks on you. Around 4 stacks is where I would stop, because otherwise it's gonna, the HP is gonna hurt you too much. But you're gonna have 4 stacks of this, and and still walk around, and now you have to wait for the bad juju to go away, and then you could do another 4 stacks. So you can also reduce the Midas this way. But I think it's a really cool idea that you could just go to Fountain and just reduce your Midas a bunch of times and come back with full resources. And this is why bottle is really important, right? Because you're kind of like a tinker a little bit. So I showed you the thing with the blink dagger with no cooldown, and now you're going to travel to base all the time. I don't know, it feels like a little bit of a tinker. I kind of like it, I kind of dig it. So from here you actually buy a Vanguard. It sounds pretty dumb, but the thing is Vanguard's built directly into Octarine Core now. So every time you buy Octarine Core, you just start with a Vanguard, right? Then you disassemble this, you disassemble this, and then you like buy your Octarine Core, right? If you want to continue to be greedy, I think Octarine Core first makes the most sense because it also reduces your Hand of Midas and also your ulti. When you factor in that your reduction gets a lot better, and then your Midas cooldown also gets a lot better, it's actually a lot of reduction on your Midas when you put these two together. Other than that, if you want to fight a bit more, you can also just go for Aghanim Scepter. And like I said, you might think Aghanim Scepter, it only works if you have Desolate or something. I tried it with Desolate, I tried it with Witchblade. Witchblade is kind of cool, but I feel like I don't really have slots for it. But you don't even need it, right? Because this is actually so much damage just with the poison and the poison talent and the extra attack you get from Shadow Wave. It's plenty. You don't need damage with Dazzle. It's enough. You just need to stay alive. So having this in mind, I think what you go for now is either a Satanic or a Lincoln Sphere. You'll probably even get both sooner or later. And then I think we're gonna go for the Arcane Blink. If you don't want to go Arcane Blink, if you feel like it's a little bit too expensive, a little bit too memey, that's actually an argument that you just buy Netherlands, to be honest. Instead of the Arcane Blink, it's actually totally fine. But the thing about the Satanic is that even with no items, if I have like middle of the creep wave or in the middle of 3 heroes, if I just get my grave off and I have 0 HP, then I press my Satanic and then I Shadow Wave somebody, you're gonna heal like 2/3 of your HP. Depending on how many people are there, you're gonna heal to full sometimes. It's like Pangolier if you buy Satanic on Pangolier and use his Q, right? It's actually so much heal, it's insane. So I kind of like the idea with the Lincolns and the Blink. You could also do both Blink and Netherlands just to be completely elusive, but it's a little bit overkill. And then the last item could be like, you know, the nerfed BKB is probably good enough. You can also just go for like a Heaven's Halberd. You could also go for, if you want to be completely memey, like Wind Waker, because Wind Waker with like Arcane Blink and like this cooldown, yeah, you can be pretty, like, it's actually hard to... It's actually hard to catch you if you just keep doing this, right? But I don't think I would go for the Wind Waker. I think seriously, just having this and the Aghanim Scepter is probably enough. And then if you get even more, I think BKB is actually pretty nice. Just because if you're getting stun locked, it's kind of nice to have BKBs just so you can make sure that you get to press your grave and get to press your Satanic and your heal, because this is gonna heal you to full. So I think this is the build I would go for on Carry Dazzle, or yeah, something like this. And like I said, it's you might think you don't even have a damage item, but like I mentioned before, it's all about the poison touch and the Shadow Wave. You just keep spamming this on some guy and they will die, believe me. You don't even need damage. So it's just about staying alive, so you can actually get to press a lot of Shadow Waves and a lot of poison touch on your enemy. So this is how I would do the Carry Dazzle. I think it's a lot of fun, and worth mentioning, also the Carry Dazzle also has the Octarine Core and also the Arcane Blink in this case, so you can do all the shenanigans with the perma-grave and stuff. So I haven't actually seen anyone talk about the perma-grave on Dazzle yet, which is kind of confusing because it's like the first thing I noticed when this patch hit, because I'm a huge Dazzle fan. So I thought it was kind of obvious, but nobody's actually talking about it. So I thought I would just make this video to just let you know that is a thing now. Perma-grave is back, and so these are the 2 items builds I would go, depending on if you're support, depending on if you're carry. So thanks for watching, and have a nice day.